When I left school, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just kind of left school and got a job. I could have ended up in banking or insurance. I might never had this. I hadn't joined William Grant & Sons back in '62. It's just really developed from there and into this unique role in the Scotch whisky industry.
David commands huge respect from the industry, and he's the longest-serving malt master in any whisky company that we know of, and therefore is the most experienced malt master that there is.
The first time I met David, it was a little bit like meeting a rock star or someone that you've known about and loved and admired for a while. So when I met him, I was very quiet, but honestly, he was quieter. He's the most humble, modest man who shares a lot of information with few words.
David's unique, there's no question about that, and the work that he's done to create the Balvenie as we know it today, very much his expertise, his nose.
It is the malt master's nose at the end of the day that actually decides on the quality of the whisky and decides on whether that particular whisky can go ahead for bottling. Nice and rich and sweet. So this is a perfect example of what will be bottled as a Balvenie. Really in here I feel this is where I belong, and this is what I like to do. I like to be pouring samples, nosing samples, experimenting in here with different samples. This is where the malt master should spend a lot of time, because this is what it's all about, the whisky that goes into the bottle.
He's one of these guys that clearly knows all there is to know about his subject, but he doesn't shout it from the rooftops. He's a very nice, very personable guy. And there's no question that if I have a question about things, he's one of the first guys I would go to.
What David is creating takes time, and it takes this effort to create a flavour and a complexity. He's dealing with the science, but in the end, it's to create flavours, it's to create emotion.
Through just his nose and the way he interprets that aroma is art, there's no question about it.
David has lived through and worked through such a hugely important time for single malt that all of these things come together to say that actually the contribution and the way that the industry's changed in 50 years is it's quite stunning, actually.
For me, that's where I really feel at home, is at the Balvenie distillery. The pace is certainly a lot slower. The people are different up in the north of Scotland, so you really need to get their confidence and you really need to get to know them. A lot of the guys that I'm dealing with have been there for 30, 40 years. The people that actually do the work can actually physically create the whiskies on my behalf. Dennis McBain, our coppersmith, was a young lad like myself, and so I've known Dennis all my life. I've got a great relationship with all of them, no matter whether it's guys in the warehouse, guys in the stills, the guys on the malt floor, the guys in our cooperage. I'm very friendly with all of them.
Every day is the same to David. So passionate about what he does, and he treats everybody the same every time. He's no different to you or is to me, and he's just a well-respected person. He's just a master of the craft.
One of my favourite places is actually to be in the warehouse, and actually amongst all the casks, drawing samples, selecting, different casks, and that's where I really feel happiest. As soon as I got into nosing whisky, that was really the turning point, because then I started to appreciate, how whisky was made and how it was matured and how it developed and the different characteristics that there are in all the different single malts.
Balvenie's an unusual single malt. It does have its own floor maltings, it does have its own cooperage, it does have its own coppersmith, and all those crafts come together. And then at the helm of that, you've got the longest serving malt master in the industry, so therefore somebody who totally gets that and totally gets the importance of craftsmanship.
We have many photographs from years gone by, and very little has changed. Even if William Grant came back today, he would instantly recognise this distillery.
Whisky does have this history, this heritage, this personality. It represents the people that are making it and the history of the company.
I work for a family company and we're allowed just to hold on to whisky and not always know what we're going to do with that whisky, so we're not forced to bottle it, we just let it mature on. It's this 50-year-old, this 1962 cask. More recently we've started to look at as my 50 years has come up.
The thought of a 50-year-old Balvenie is very exciting. It's going to be something that's very well sought after. It's going to be a whisky that's well worth drinking as well.
Just the mere mention of this special whisky has me almost salivating at the prospect.
I can't wait to get to taste it, and I hope David gives me some. What better way, to celebrate 50 years with the company than to taste some whisky that was actually distilled in the year you started.
Every stage requires a lot of effort and a lot of hard labour, so I suppose it's appropriate. The box and the bottle should require an awful lot of effort too.
The wood is the basis of why I am a craftsman. I've been working with Balvenie for a couple of years now. This is definitely the most spectacular box I've ever worked on. In an age of mass production, this is, I feel, is a sort of a last bastion of bringing it back to what craft should be about. Galloway ash, Borders oak, Lothian walnut, cherry and yew, Fife beech, fittingly, Bampshire elm from the Balvenie distillery site. The 7 beautiful Scottish-grown timbers I've used in the making of this box. The box is a mark of time and of craft. I'm privileged to have handcrafted this box, following in the footsteps of the coopers who first contained this precious whisky. Sam Chinnery, craftsman.
I'm about to go into Warehouse 24 with David Stewart and try a cask that today is celebrating its 50th birthday. That blows my mind. I can barely fully understand really what's about to happen. I've been a whiskey lover for 10 years. I've been really fortunate to try some great whiskeys and some older whiskeys, but to try a whiskey on its birthday, to try an old cask, one of the oldest in these warehouses, with David Stewart in the year that he's celebrating 50 years is just too much. And now here we are in the company of greatness. So we talk about the angel share, and you can smell it when you're in the warehouse. How does a whiskey last that long? How does the liquid stay in there for all this time?
Well,
50 years?
some casks don't last this long. Some casks, by this time, the strength is gone. It's gone below 40. Fortunately, this one, I think the strength here is still 43%. This cask probably held 350, 400 bottles when it was filled back in 1962. Now we're down to less than 100 bottles.
Precious liquid then.
It is. So see, you're just waiting to try it.
My hands are out. They're shaking, to be fair, but they're ready to go. Wow. Oh, I can smell that from here already, David. David, I can't believe we even have this, that I have this in my hand right now.
Well, it's very special, isn't it, to have a 50-year-old whiskey in the glass, and look at that lovely colour. Nice, slightly darker than gold, so it's a nice rich colour, but you can see from the colour it's not overly oaky. You get citrus, orange, lemon, quite floral, a little bit floral, fragrant.
Very complex whiskey.
So it's lovely and lingering. The richness, the complexity, you know, it's full of flavour in the mouth.
But it's quite vibrant and alive too, even after all that time. Why is this?
This is not dominated by the oak. It's still Balvenie, but a very unique Balvenie.
So here with you, David, 50 years with the company, with a cask, with a whiskey that's matured for today exactly 50 years. It's an absolute honor and an ultimate commemoration to your craft.
It is, and a very exciting day to be here on its actual birthday.
So happy birthday to you. Slanch.
Ange. The 50 years is a long time, and I feel quite very privileged that I'm doing this sort of role in the company. It's a great and unique role in the whisky industry. It's probably a role like myself that really relies on experience, and only having a handful of people that can do what I can do, that really I'm still in the job 50 years later.
I think David's greatest achievement is partly to have been creating new and different whiskies for all this amount of time and, you know, producing successful whiskies again and again and again.
Tremendous awards been given to the Balvenie, and that is testament really to David's skills. And without David, I don't think we would have been anywhere near successful with Balvenie as we are today.
He's given innovations, he's given different styles, but more importantly, he's excited the public. And that has to be good, not only for his company, but for the Scotch whisky as a whole.
Thanks to David and his contribution of building up the Balvenie has helped put Speyside in the minds of millions of people around the whole of the world to enjoy our whisky from this area. And millions of bottles of Scotch are being exported to virtually every corner of the planet.
He's an aspirational figure, but not only just in the industry, but at the top of the industry.
For all that he's done for whiskey, for single malt globally, for this company, he's just a soft-spoken, lovable guy who, once you pry a smile out of him, you just want to do it again and again. So that's part of my job too.
A huge congratulations in achieving such an amazing milestone. My hope is that David continues for many years to come as the Balvenie Malt Master and passing on his skills to others.
I mean, realistically, you know, the vast majority of the knowledge I have about William Grant stocks, about our philosophy, if you like, as a company, how to make fantastic whiskies, has come from David.
David is one of maybe one or two people in the industry that I would say has forgotten more about whiskey than I'll ever know in a lifetime.
Not many people have done 50 years. As far as I'm concerned, and many people around the world, you'll never be forgotten.
From time to time, I do settle down for a wee dram at the end of the day. It's my favourite drink. So seeing people enjoying it and the feedback that we've got has been great, and I think it's all been worthwhile. Yes, I'm happy with this. That's turned out very well.